It's my pleasure to welcome you to a two-part series that we've entitled Nutrition as We Grow Older. Quality of life is really important, isn't it? At all stages of life. But as we get older, sometimes the quality can slip a bit. What we want to share with you now is how you can retain that quality of life, or if you feel that you've lost some of it, how you can actually claim that. What we're going to do is to look at some guidelines, and these guidelines have been developed by Nutrition Australia for people as we get older. And the very first one is, enjoy a wide variety of nutritious foods. No one food provides you with all the nutrients that you need for health and vitality. And so it's important to each day choose from the different food groups. And so each day, try to include 2 or 3 different kinds of fruits. Now you can include more than that. If you have diabetes, then you wouldn't want to go past 2 or 3, and certainly stay with the guidelines that your doctor or your diabetes educator has suggested. Vegetables, 4 or 5 different types of vegetables, and look at a range of colours, and we will show you why in just a little while. We do eat with our eyes, don't we? When food looks good, then we're happy to eat it. If it looks pretty bland, we might say, well, I'm not all that hungry at the moment. And so colours in food look good, but they're also very important for our health and well-being. Good nutrition is vital for maintaining good health. Healthy eating can be a quick, easy, and most importantly, enjoyable. So you don't have to spend 2 hours in the kitchen to prepare some food that is healthy and that is tasty. It's a good idea to stock up on foods that are able to be kept in your cupboard or in your fridge and used for easy meals. I'm not really talking here about the takeaway meals that are so freely available in the supermarkets. The frozen meals, there are some that are a little better than others, but try to think fresh as much as you can. And so some ideas for quick meals. Soup, there are many wonderful recipes that are healthy with a variety of vegetables and maybe legumes, the dried beans and peas. And today we have lots of different varieties of bread available as well. Maybe a baked apple or even some dried fruit and nuts. That would be a quick meal that is actually nutritious as well. And so again, you don't have to sort of say, well, I'm going to have to spend a lot of time in the kitchen and I'm not really a cook. And so what am I going to do? There are many recipes that are quick and easy and that are nutritious as well. So for some guidelines, cereals. Try to include a range of cereals like porridge, that would be mostly made from oats, maybe a muesli that has a variety of grains, and also rice. And for your bread, make it a habit to regularly vary the type. There are many breads available today, and some of them are very good indeed. There's rye bread, there's soy, there's of course wholemeal. There are different grains added to breads. When you look at the multigrain bread, do look that it's been based on a wholemeal dough, not just a white dough, because sometimes that is the case. There are pita breads and there are also the English muffins. And so choose varieties that are nutritious and that have the whole grains in them. Then there are dairy foods and substitutes. I personally use soy milk, but we each choose for ourselves. Include those, low fat, particularly for people who are older, as ourselves. No fat at all if you need to lose some weight, or you need to keep your fat content in your diet really low. Yogurt is also another one that is good for us. The dried beans and peas, there's a whole range of dried beans and peas. They're called legumes. You can buy them in cans or you can cook them yourself. They are very economical. You do have to soak them and then cook them later, but you can freeze them, so cook the whole packet at once. That's what I do. Soak them for about 8 hours. Have lots of water on the legumes. Drain all that water off after 8 hours or so of soaking, and then put them into the saucepan with clean water, probably about 2 or 3 centimetres above the beans, and then cook them until they're tender. Depending on the variety, some are a half an hour, some maybe 3/4 of an hour, and some are an hour. Soybeans are very nutritious, but they take about 3 hours to cook unless you have a pressure cooker, and then of course it's shorter time, and on your little manual for your pressure cooker it will show you just exactly for that appliance how long those beans will take to cook. Beans are very nutritious, and the more scientists are looking at our food and the nutrients and all the elements in our food that our wonderful Creator has put in there, the more they realize that a lot of these special substances, part of a phytochemical family, phyto means plant, and chemical are just the natural substances in our food, are very protective at cell level. And again, we will talk about that in a little while. And so the dried beans and peas, try and include them. If you're not used to having them regularly, just include them gradually, a small amount, maybe once or twice a week, and then a little more, maybe 3 days a week, and have a day in between, so that your body gets used to the new food that's coming in. And certainly you don't need them in large quantities. About a half a cup would be a serving, but they're very nutritious. Also, in the guidelines, we need to remember the importance of fibre. And so you might say, where am I going to get that from? And what is it that I'm going to benefit from if I have fibre in my diet? Firstly, it's essential for good health. And very interestingly, it is only found in plant foods. There is no fibre in meat, chicken, fish, dairy, or eggs. It is only in plant foods. And so a little later, when we look at the balance and the variety of our food, you'll notice that most of our food should actually come from a plant source. Not only because of all the other good things that are in our plant foods, but also the fibre that's in there. And there are different types of fibre. Let's have a look at that. There's soluble fibre. That means that it dissolves. That word gives you that message already. That's found in fruits and vegetables. It's found in legumes, in oats, in rice, and in barley. Oats is probably one of the higher sources or the better sources of soluble fibre. So what does soluble fibre do for me as compared to the insoluble? And I think most of us are more familiar with insoluble fibre. Insoluble means that the body can't break it down. Very important for what I call the transportation system, so that the waste goes through the body the way that it was designed to, and not sit there for a few days, or in some people for a week. And sometimes as we get older, that seems to happen a little more in some people than in others. And so the soluble fibre actually provides a little gel, if you like, once it's dissolved, and it goes around the nutrients. And when you look at glucose, it stops the glucose from being absorbed into the bloodstream at a quick level. And so it slows down that absorption. You might say, that doesn't sound very good. It actually is good. It gives it a low GI value. Now, the GI is the glycemic index, and that's the rate at which glucose rises in the bloodstream after we've eaten certain foods. Now, if you have diabetes, you know that it's important to have a low GI diet. If you don't have diabetes, you will still benefit from that, because it means that you have a feeling of satisfaction or fullness for a longer period of time, and you don't feel like eating so often every hour or every couple of hours. And so the soluble fibre does that, but it does something else that's very important too, and that is that it also forms the gel around bile salts, which are produced by the body and have a very high cholesterol content, and it stops it from being absorbed into the bloodstream, and so that goes out with the waste. So it reduces the absorption of cholesterol. Now, that is good news, isn't it, for everybody? So for bowel health, to prevent constipation, the fermentation of fibre in the colon maintains the health of the cells of the lower colon, also a very important point. It helps to reduce the risk of diverticular disease, which unfortunately is fairly common in our society here in Australia, and in many other countries too, mostly developed countries. And that's when constipation has been there for quite a long time, and when there's pressure to expel the waste matter, through this constant pressure, if you look at that as being your bowel, it creates little pockets, okay? And those pockets fill up with waste matter, and that waste matter then can become infected, and that's called diverticulitis. Diverticular disease means that you've got those pockets because once they're there, they never ever really shrink again. And so once they're there, but it can be managed. So having fibre in the diet and so that everything moves through the way it's supposed to is a good way to go. We're now going to have a look at heart disease. Diets rich in soluble fibre, particularly from oats, have been shown to reduce heart disease. Now, we've just talked about oats with the fibre, but it also have lots of other nutrients in as well. And so that really helps with heart disease. It reduces LDL cholesterol, as we've just mentioned, which is the bad type of cholesterol when it is there in excess. And so that soluble fibre also helps people who have diabetes, and we just mentioned that, because it reduces the glycemic index. That means the way that blood glucose goes into the bloodstream, it's a lot slower than going in there really fast and causing problems. So how much fibre do I really need? Dietary surveys show that the average Australian does not eat enough fibre. And so have a look at that. Health professionals advise that adults should eat at least 30 grams of fibre each day for health benefits. You might say to yourself, how do I know if I've had 30 grams of fibre? Well, here on the screen you can see a list of some foods. Now individually they don't have 30 grams, but together they do. 1 serving of high fibre cereal. And you might say, well, what cereal did you use? It was actually Sanitarium Weet-Bix High Bran, so that has more of the fibre in there than the regular Weet-Bix. 2 slices of wholemeal bread, that's not hard. I have more than 2 slices of wholemeal bread a day. 2 serves of fruit, 3 serves of vegetables, a half a cup of those cooked legumes, and just a very small, as in 30 grams of almonds, which would be about 10 or 12. Now you don't have to have that exact pattern each day, but it gives you a guide of just where my fibre is going to come from. And I hope that you've got the message that it's not difficult to get fibre, providing you include whole foods, that you include some legumes and some nuts and seeds. Now we're going to go on to the next guideline, and that is water. We need to drink enough water. Most people don't drink enough water. I hope that you do. But if you don't, let's have a look at why we need the water. And that might help us to remember to drink water regularly every day, not just 1 or 2 glasses. A little more than that is what our bodies need. As I've taught over the many years, there's one thing that I remember when I ever teach this subject, and I have people from the community, and I say to people, do you think you drink enough water? And most of them say yes. And they truly believe that. And it's easy to do that. So what I'm going to suggest for you to do is in your home, or if you're still working, wherever you are, that you have a container of water, whether it's a jug or whether it's an empty fruit juice bottle, just a container of water. And through the day, just see how much you drink. Going back to the public programs, usually water is presented maybe the 2nd or the 3rd week. When it comes to the following week, those who are really honest come back to me and say, do you know what, Sabella? I really thought that I was drinking enough water, and I'm not having more than 4 glasses, sometimes only 5, and I thought I was doing really well. And so a good idea to say, okay, I wonder how much water I am drinking. When you're just drinking it from the tap or from your water container, whatever you use, it is easy to presume that you're drinking lots, but it may not be enough. Let's have a look at that. Did you know that water is the most important nutrient required by the human body? Now that's interesting, isn't it? You might say, aren't vitamins and minerals important? Yes, they are. But water is the most important nutrient. 60% of our bodies are made up of water. Now that is more than half. So if you sort of look at your body, you'd have to say, well, water is sort of right up to there. And that's a lot of water. The important role of water in our bodies is that it transports nutrients. It removes waste products. It helps to keep my body temperature stable. That's important. and it protects the fetus in pregnancy. It has lots of other roles as well, but these are ones that are on top of the list. Dehydration. We've heard the word. And you probably think of someone in the desert and who may die as a result. Dehydration occurs in many people, and unfortunately in some people on a daily basis. That means your body is still functioning because of the wonderful way that God has created us, but it isn't able to function at the level that it is able to, or that it can, because you haven't taken in enough water. When the body lacks water, and there is a loss of more than 1% of body weight in water, you have dehydration. To avoid dehydration, experts recommend that we consume 8 glasses of fluid a day. Now you might say, 8 glasses? That's a lot of water. Spread it out over the day, and that is what your body needs. Now, if you're working in the garden, and I'm sure you are, it's good to be outside in nature and to be working. Or you're doing your exercise and you're walking and it's a hot day and there's lots of perspiration. My body's very good at doing that. You can lose 1 litre an hour when you perspire visibly. Now that's a lot, isn't it? That means that as well as my 8 glasses of water, I need to drink extra to make up for what my body has lost through perspiration, so that it can still work effectively. What you also may find is that when you are slightly dehydrated, that you start to get a bit headachy, because your brain is actually 75%, some scientists say 76, 77, but say 75% water. Now that's a lot of water. If someone says to you, you've got water on the brain, you can actually say, thank you very much, because it means that your brain is working pretty well. So water is necessary for good functioning of many body organs, and one of them is the kidneys. Also your bowels, to help prevent constipation. So we've just looked at fibre, haven't we? Fibre and water go together, because fibre will absorb water, and that helps the waste matter to leave the body the way that it was designed to, so it doesn't sit there for longer than it should. And the dangerous part is, when this waste matter sits in the bowel, it's in constant contact with the lining of the bowel, in a warm atmosphere. There are toxins there that the body has to get rid of. God has wonderfully made our bodies. If some of those things that the body, that are dangerous, if they were to stay in the body, then we would have all sorts of diseases. But the body actually gets rid of things that it shouldn't contain. And there it is, in the bowel, on the lining of the bowel, in a warm atmosphere. And I don't have to tell you what can happen next. Things can go very wrong. And so, we've looked at food. We've looked at the importance of fibre. We're now going to look at the importance of exercise. Your body was made for moving, so we need to keep active. Regular walking each day, maybe some gardening or swimming or whatever you really enjoy. You choose what you do and have a variety. It promotes health and it enhances the quality of life. A regular exercise program together with a balanced diet is essential for disease prevention and health promotion. And as we said when we started, we really want to maintain or retain quality of life, don't we? You can have all that the world offers. You can have the best house, and there's nothing wrong with having a beautiful home. You can have the best cars in the garage for the gentlemen or the ladies. But if your health goes, have you noticed that it's not so important what you have? The value actually decreases of all these wonderful things that you may have worked for all your life. And again, as I said, it's not wrong to have those things. But quality of life, having your health and well-being so you can enjoy this, so you can enjoy your children and your grandchildren, your families, and the community in which you find yourself. So health is very important. Back to walking, to exercise. That's where we were. Don't let these excuses get in your way. I don't have time. Well, even though you're retired, maybe, perhaps you're still working, but you might be retired. It's a busy life. I've had people say to me, I'm busier now than before I retired. So that makes me think, maybe I shouldn't retire because I don't think I can afford to get any busier than what I am at the moment. Another reason why people don't exercise is that they feel too tired. Or every time I exercise, I get stiff. Well, that means you're going a little too fast or too long. That's not good. And so start off with small amounts and increase gradually. I have too much pain. You shouldn't have pain, and please see your doctor or your health professional. Let them know what you're doing and have a good check. I hate playing sport is another one. You don't have to play sport. You can exercise by just walking. And the last one is I'm too old. I'd like to tell you that my mother is still alive, for which I'm very grateful. And in 4 weeks' time, she will be 95. And she walks 3 to 4 times a week, not just around her little block. She walks at least 4K, sometimes 5. And then she does work in between as well. And I know she has some health problems, but I know that is what is maintaining her quality of life. And so think about it. Start an exercise program if you don't have one. It does really make a difference to exercise. You don't have to climb a mountain. You don't have to join a gym. You may want to, but you don't have to. And you don't have to run marathons. Well, I'm really happy about that because I'm a walker. Just find ways to be more active and discover the fantastic results that you will experience when you start moving. There are many benefits. A lowered risk of heart and blood vessel disease. Now that's good news for all age groups, but particularly as we get older. Lowered blood pressure levels. Many people are concerned with their blood pressure and have to take medication. Decreased risk of blood clots. Wonderful. Lowered heart rate and improved heart rhythm. Improved management of body weight. That's a good one, even just by itself. Improved stress management. Improved mental outlook. And a strengthened immune system. Your immune system is very important indeed to maintain our health and well-being. And exercise very much influences the health of your immune system. There are more benefits. Increased bone strength and decrease the risk of osteoporosis in elderly people. Improved glucose tolerance and control of non-insulin dependent diabetes. Reduced risk of colon cancer. Can you handle 2 more? Because there are 2 more. Strengthened muscles and enhanced flexibility and improved circulation and sleep. Do you know, I often say, if we could somehow create a tablet or some supplement to give you all of those benefits, if we formed a little company, we wouldn't just be millionaires, we would be billionaires, because that is exactly what we all need. And all you need is a decent pair of walking shoes and a plan to do that, to walk or to be active on a daily basis. There are some national activity guidelines for Australians. And this is what is on those guidelines. Think of movement as an opportunity, not an inconvenience. Be active every day in as many ways as you can. And you might say, well, how long do I have to keep this up? At least 30 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity in most, preferably all days. So if you miss out a day or so, that's not the worst. But the good news is, of all lifestyle choices, exercise comes after non-smoking as the behaviour that contributes positively to every dimension of our life. Isn't that interesting? So exercise is very important. We talk a lot about the importance of food, and it's true. We need to take in the right foods, but exercise is extremely important as well. So develop a program that's going to work best for you. Allow a week or so to see how your plan works and make adjustments if you need to. Some people find that keeping a diary of their activities works. If you haven't been exercising, please start off with a short amount of time and then build up gradually to allow your body to get used to this new way. As I've mentioned before, I love walking. To me, walking is great. The best all-round and safest activity. It's free, only need a good pair of walking shoes. Aerobic activity builds stamina and it burns fat. You may want to take different trails to make it more interesting. For me personally, that's not a problem. I have a 5K trail around my home and I'm very happy to just keep walking that trail. It has a couple of hills. I do live in the country, and so when the seasonal changes occur, the trail looks different. But I'm very happy to just walk that. But not everyone's like that. And you may find that you would want to choose the different ways of walking to suit you. I tell you what else really works too. Try and find someone to walk with you. If maybe your husband or your wife or someone who lives near you or some of your friends from your group, nice to walk with people, and then everybody will benefit and it becomes a social occasion, which helps too. And so all this walking, the effects on your heart and your blood vessel system. The system must deliver more nutrients at a faster rate to muscle tissue during heavy exercise, plus effectively remove waste products. And so your heart is pumping faster and there is more blood circulating. And just going back to my wonderful mother, she has some health problems. And if she doesn't exercise regularly, she doesn't feel as well. But when she's exercising regularly, the blood is pumping around, and the small areas where there are some concerns, fresh blood is being pumped into those areas, and mum feels okay. And so try and remember that. If you've got some little health problems, maybe the walking might be just what you need to help you to feel good. Do keep in contact with your doctor, because there are some health problems where walking is not good. So talk to your doctor and ask him whether for you that is going to be a good idea. So the earlier you begin, the better, but it is never too late to start. Scientists are discovering that there are some real advantages in choosing a healthy lifestyle. For many people who do not smoke, as I said earlier, factors that influence health is the food we eat and how active we are on a regular basis. There are so many benefits. Healthy appetite, regular bowels, more strength, less joint stiffness, easier weight control, and reduced boredom and anxiety. Now they're good, aren't they? There are many benefits there. So regular enjoyable activity should be an automatic part of your daily routine. And when you combine that with a varied, well-balanced food intake, you have a formula for healthy senior years. Thank you.